What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Kick-Ass Podcast. We are here today for a little impromptu live. I and again, this is all shout out and courtesy of Bebe, a listener here of the show. So I appreciate that. If you were watching my live or if you went back and watched it yesterday, the one that I did, it was like a little brief SmackDown review, kind of like AEW, a very brief SmackDown review because I did that officially over at Brass Ring Media, which I'm live every Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. So definitely feel free to join me and check out that show. That's where I did the primary SmackDown review for that one. Sorry, I have to turn my volume down here and close my YouTube on my phone. But yeah, so again, the purpose of today's show is kind of just to take a little dive. And I know it's not a popular time right now. Everyone is watching football, Sunday fun day football. I totally get that. I was kind of in the middle of doing some cleaning myself for today and have football on in the background, but I just wanted to sit down and kind of go through this because I'm not gonna lie, I've been very, very intrigued, and I think that this could go this has the potential to be very interesting. But before we get into it, as always, I just want to say thank you if you are joining me live. If you pop in, pop out, feel free to drop a comment, whatever your feedback is. I appreciate it. Helps me learn, helps me grow. But feel free to subscribe if you like as well. We just hit 240 subscribers, which is pretty cool. I know it's very, very low on the totem pole. But if you've seen me before, I'm not really one that I take it seriously, you know what I mean? Like I don't just I don't not take this seriously, but I'm not looking to make money or anything like that or anything like that. I just think it's cool to watch it grow and to see where people pop in from around the world. So that's kind of what's fun to me. And what's why I like to see the channel grow. So that's why I encourage that. But yeah, and like I said earlier, I'm over every Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. live Eastern time here in the US over at Brass Ring Media here on YouTube. So definitely subscribe and follow that channel as well. Zach and Tyler do shows throughout the week, and you can join the monthly membership subscription as well for access to additional shows, Discord, and stuff like that. So definitely check that out. But here over on my channel, I am a little bit more free with my words, and I do not try. I mean, I try not to be. I don't try not to drop an F bomb after every other word, but I definitely don't hold back on my words. But I'm not that negative Nancy out here neither. So just want to get that out all the way. And you can of course follow me on Twitter at me personally at ASHMANNS, or you can follow the show at Kickash Podcast _ as well. If you see me look down or make any movements, it's because all the dogs are in here. But little Frida Kahlo, my dog right here, is wanting some attention. Not that I haven't been with her all morning and took her to Starbucks, but she still is here. But yeah, all that BS out of the way. Getting into the whole point of today's show, which is a potential AEW mole. And again, at the beginning of the show, shout out to listener Bebe, who comments on the channel here and is a pretty loyal, I guess, just follower of the show. I start to call people friends, even though I haven't met the majority of you guys out there. But that's just kind of, once we get to a certain point, it's just kind of how I view some people. But yeah, they had commented on my live that I did yesterday and had asked if I had heard or seen anything of the AEW Mole account on Twitter, and I had not. And of course, I was intrigued, right? And my hair it's bothering me so much. See, I told you guys I was cleaning, and this is the beauty of live, right? Pardon me, it's just gonna drive me nuts. Hope I don't make it worse. Whatever. But yeah, so I was like, no, I haven't, and of course I had to seek it out and take a look at it. But I sent a follow request. The AEW Mole, their Twitter account is, and it's always gonna be Twitter to me, is private. So I sent a request, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna get granted access. And before I even get any further into the show, I guess a little disclaimer as well. I am not here to out anyone. I'm not here to really make anything of this. If anything, I just found it really interesting, and I was actually very impressed with how accurate they seem to be so far. And I think and why the title shows why it could be a good thing if this account is truly who they say they are, even though they haven't really said who they are. But if they truly are working for AEW or whatever, the things that they're quote outing, in my opinion, could end up being a good thing. It's one of those things, and it's not even. So I'm gonna pull it up on the screen here in a moment, and we'll kind of take a look at the tweets and stuff like that. But I don't think that it's now again, if they're gonna start like shit talking AEW or shit talking like Tony Khan or just putting out like if you'll be able to tell, right? If it's more one-sided, if it's all negative things, or if it's just blanket information, right? And that's what it seems to be right now. So that's why I don't view it as a negative now. Granted, of course, right? If you're any type of business or company, regardless of what industry you're in, you're not gonna want information leaked, right? And that's why I even debated on even talking about this on the show, but and I'm still kind of conflicted, really. So if anyone's watching, if you have any opinions on it, feel free to drop it in the chat as well. Whether you're watching currently or if you watch it on replay or whatever. But I think that if first of all, if you're going to be making tweets about it and if you're going to be putting it out there, then people are going to be talking about it, right? But my goal is just to really use it as a benefit and to really use it to try to as a storyline reason, right? And not to again try to get anyone in trouble or stir up any controversy or anything like that, but just to try to use it as a positive and to try to use it okay, like use the little clues that we've gotten so far on the thread to try to decipher and figure out like okay, like who is Moxley really working for someone, where are they going with Jericho and stuff like that. So that's kind of my goal and my mindset behind it. And I'm gonna get it put up here, but just give me 1 second. All right, sorry about that. And I did just want to fix my hair as well, so I had to do that. So didn't want to bore you guys with that. It was just driving me nuts. Um, but yeah, so I'm going to share my screen here. I'm getting it pulled back up, and then I also want to, depending on time, maybe talk about Samantha Irvin as well because she has given us a little bit more information in regards to possibly why she left WWE and maybe some not issues that she had with the company, but just maybe some additional things that she wanted to do, and she didn't foresee that being a possibility. So we'll maybe dive into that depending on how much time we have. But I'm pulling up my screen here now. And regarding the mole, like showing like the account and everything, or and things like that. Another reason why I was kind of hesitant to even maybe talk about it or do a video or anything of that nature is because they are protected. They have their account protected. That's why I had to send a request, and I did. They did, I guess, grant access. Now, if after this video, they block me or whatever, I totally understand that. And again, if this ever does make it out there to them, that's not my goal, right? Again, I'm not out there to like get anyone in trouble or anything like that. And we don't even know who this individual is, and if this is even true, right? And that's why I'm just sitting here like, okay, like let's just have fun with it. Let's not take it seriously. Let's not hold too much weight to it. But the reason I wanted to talk about it is because they did have some things that were kind of eerily close to being spot on. You know what I mean? So we're gonna get it put up here, and I'm gonna scroll down. Let me go ahead and share my screen so we can take a look at it together. All right. So this is the Twitter page, and because I believe they started tweeting on the 17th. I was kind of going through a deep dive, and I am so when I saw this right here, I already was sold. I was like, I already love this person, regardless of who it is. Because the second Bebe had mentioned the AEW mole, anytime I hear the word mole, I immediately default to Moly 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 back from Austin Powers. It was the the third movie with Beyonce. Oh my god, it was Austin Powers, not the International Man of Mystery. Was it The Spy Who Shagged Me? Was that the title? Maybe, but I just fucking love that movie, man. I love it so much. It's just the obnoxiousness of it. But in this right here was just fucking great. But we will start from the beginning and kind of take a little bit of a deep dive ish. So on October 17th, the Mole account tagged AEW Collision and released the winners. And this is also, if you know me, I don't like spoilers. I don't go out there seeking spoilers or anything like that. So I was kind of another reason why I was kind of conflicted regarding this, but I just view it as interesting until we continue to get more information to see if they're right with a lot of like the bigger things, and it's gonna be like, oh bro, like okay, like hold a little bit more weight. But in regards to the collision winners on the 17th, they posted that Ricochet was gonna win, Kyle Fletcher, LFI, and then of course Claudio, Pac, and Wheeler Yuta. Um, hey, yeah, what's up, Rewind 89? Welcome back. Yeah, no one likes Spurs. I don't either, man. I do not either. And that's why this is fun, kind of looking at it in the future, or I'm sorry, in the past, because this has already been posted. But they did, once we get a little bit more current, they did kind of drop a little bit more information, but just a forewarning if you don't want to know anything that could potentially happen. Because this is obviously the whole point of their feed right now. It's bringing light to some stories and maybe the gaps maybe is the proper word. um but the next tweet they had was on also on the 17th. These tweets are on the 17th for the next I think few that they have here. Yeah, about 3 or 4. They say the whole Hurt Syndicate rather storyline is a break from the norm. The idea is for it to be booked by Black talent, featuring exclusively Black talent. For AEW to have lots of representation similar to NXT. Future plans to feud with John Moxley and the BCC alongside Swerve, which I think is great. I think that's what we all kind of expected as well. And again, a lot of this isn't groundbreaking stuff, but it's just kind of like confirmation. Again, if all of this is true, but I think it's very interesting, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. But I think that's obviously a good sign, right, and a good hope for the future that they're sticking with that, which it's been pretty apparent. No shocker there. But that also that they're going to be taken seriously and could potentially face off with John Moxley and whatever his group is going to be called. Again, I mentioned yesterday that Tony Schiavone had referenced Moxley's group on one show. I believe maybe it was like a Collision recap or something. He had referenced them as the Death Riders. So I don't know if that's going to be Mox's new group's name or whatever, but again, I'd like it if it was. I think that'd be pretty fitting for a lot of reasons, right? But you would want to see, first of all, it would kind of fix and answer a lot of the complaints. Me specifically, I'll use myself just as an example. A complaint that I've had with this whole storyline in regards to Mox and taking over AEW and who's been defending AEW and things like that. You don't they're not It's the bottom of the totem pole, right? Which again, you don't want to start with the head of the table, right? um no, no, not no WWE tie-in intended there, but you don't want to go straight for the top dog. Especially if you want this to be a long-term story. If this is going to drag out, this needs to be something that you take time with. The issue that I said yesterday, I'm not going to rehash that, was just the fact that yeah, like you're starting with the bottom and it's a long-term story, hopefully, right? But why is no one else at least referencing it? Was kind of my whole thing. Um, But again, if I mute myself, I just don't want to. Just my dogs. I don't want to just kill your guys' ears if my dog barks or anything. So I try to, or makes any type of noises. I don't want to spook you guys or anything like that. But yeah, that's kind of my point there. Is if this is going to be a long term thing, then this is what we would all want, right? And this is what we're all hoping for. But again, you can't just have two different worlds going on. You can't just have Moxley, I'm just gonna call them the Death Riders, right? You can't have them, or BCC, whatever, them just killing everyone backstage, and then your people like Swerve and all the big dogs just not even acknowledging it. So at least reference it, which I get too. Like if they reference it, then a case can be made. Like, okay, if you're referencing it, then why aren't you doing anything? So it's just kind of a conundrum at this point. But continuing on, the next tweet was obviously Kenny Omega was involved in the Elite promo on AEW Dynamite. He even suggested certain lines. The plan is for he and Kota Ibushi to feud with the Young Bucks and a singles feud with Jack Perry and Okada. They're hoping in a few months' time. Following up with also Konosuke Takeshita is possible if possible, and continuing his feud with Don Callis rather. So that was in regards to the kind of like the birthday segment that the Elite, specifically Jack Perry, did for Kenny Omega. They had that big cake, had Happy Birthday Kenny on it, and then they dumped, it was like a representation of like intestines and guts and stuff. So that was kind of a reference to that. Now, that again is nothing too groundbreaking or anything like, oh my god, like newsworthy, I guess you would say, because that's what we have all been expecting. It does again continue to give you hope that Omega is doing much better health wise, and we've seen evidence of that with him taking pictures in Japan and stuff like that, and looking like he's been training and obviously in great shape still. So that's a good sign. And with him even just being referenced on TV, you're not going to do that if the possibility isn't a thing, first of all, and if it's not coming up soon. So maybe we get a Kenny Omega return at Full Gear or something like that. And again, that's just me completely making that up, but you would think it's coming up soon, or possibly at World's End, to end the year with a bang and then start the new year hot. So that could be something as well. So yeah, I think that's a good sign. And then again, the whole Omega and Takeshita tie back and feud would be great as well, and that would obviously make sense. You had Don Callis right there playing into it as well, so that's a win-win. Rewind 89. I hope you've met Taz. I hope you've met him, because he needs to meet his biggest fan. If not, if he ever does a meet and greet, you need to make it there, man, because I swear you are his biggest fan. What do you think about Hook? Hook seeking revenge to right his father's wrongdoing of being taken out by the knees. What do you think about that, Rewind 89, and Hook trying to seek revenge? But continuing on, another tweet that they had here was finished for the, and again, this is one of the tweets that I was mentioning earlier that holds some weight, because it was damn eerie how spot on they were here. So they said on the 17th that the finish for the Ring of Honor ladder war between Mark Briscoe and Chris Jericho is Chris Jericho on Big Bill's shoulders to become the new world champion. Plans to work with Samoa Joe after. Now, after the match, we didn't get Samoa Joe come out, but we did get Ishii come out. But what was the finish of that match, guys? What was the finish of that match? It was pretty spot on. Pretty spot on. If I'm not mistaken, guys, that was how that match ended. I'm gonna see if I can get confirmation pulled up here. And that's why I'm saying this guy may not be a lie, or this guy or gal, the mole, may not be too far off. You would think that they would have had an easier picture to pull up here. I don't want to get anything. Oh, I did find it. Oh, man, some of the image results that I pulled up here. It was a flashback to Jericho and Benoit's ladder match, and Jericho put Benoit in the walls of Jericho on the top of the ladder. I remember watching that when I was younger, just in awe of what he did. I'm gonna see. I just want to pull the picture up because it's just spot on with how. I don't think we don't have a picture. We don't have a still anywhere. That's kind of annoying. But yeah, guys. I mean, if you know, you know. If you saw it, you saw it. we did have, I don't want to pull up a video, obviously, because I don't want to get any copyright, what are they called, strikes or anything like that. But we did see it. We did see him hoisting Jericho up there, and I remember watching it live. Well, not live. I watched it on a little bit of delay because I was, when Jericho smacked his head on the back of the line. Oh man, and for a second I was wondering if that had anything to do with it, but not, because that was reported, that was tweeted out by the Mole on the 17th, that was the plan of the finish to begin with. Supposedly that Jericho was going to be on Big Bill's shoulders to become the new champion, and that sure enough happened. And then he put out a tweet on the 18th that he heard on the grapevine that WWE are really interested in putting Maya Lesnar through NXT, which again is no shocker, but interesting. Carrying on, the original plan for AEW Wrestle Dream was a three-way between Bryan Danielson, Darby Allin, and Swerve, since all three guys were from Washington, then changed to Darby versus Bryan, but they felt the crowd might not know who to cheer or turn on Allin, so they went the typical babyface versus heel route against with Moxley for heat. So that's, and I was kind of wondering as well why Darby having it, or I mean, he was still on the pay per view, right? But it just wasn't hyped as big. Now, again, the focus was on Bryan, but it was just interesting that they didn't really put Darby in a higher position with having a pay per view in his home state, So that was a little bit interesting as well. But moving on, the next tweet that they had, they said, post it before retape. Okay, so they quote tweeted their original tweet from the Collision winners. And then they stated, post it before retaped in Stockton, California. House of Black won a squash match. Chris Statlander beat Harley Cameron and is going to be facing Camille in preparation for her match with Mercedes. Orange beat Bulk Bronson, and Garcia and Private Party beat Premier Athletes, PAs. So, again, very interesting. Just the accuracy so far. Upcoming matches on AEW TV: Chris Jericho versus Mark Briscoe, Chris Statlander versus Camille, Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Moné, FTR versus Rush and the Beast Mortos, Ricochet versus Konosuke Takeshita, Penelope Ford versus Jamie Hayter, Daniel Garcia versus Jack Perry, and the Young Bucks versus Private Party. Version 2, essentially match 2. And again, I am not in the spoiler game. This has all happened in the past at this point. And I'm not going to be like posting like videos as these tweets come out or anything like that. I just find it very interesting. And again, like I said at the beginning of the stream here, I think it's interesting, and I think we have a chance to learn maybe the mindset and how, because for me, I love the business aspect of it. I like learning, and I think it's just cool kind of seeing how the sausage is made in a lot of ways, like with that saying being out there. Not to spoil anything, but just to learn, okay, like this person could have some information that could be very, very useful for us to kind of learn how it's run over there. And again, not that we need to know everything, and I'm not looking to know everything, because I love not knowing a lot, right? And having the curtain still there and the curtain being a thing. But I think it's interesting that this person seems to have this information, and it seems to be pretty accurate so far. They had stated also that Jamie Hayter beat Brooke Havoc. So, okay. Okada beat Kyle Fletcher. They wanted it to go really close to the time limit. Brian Cage and Lance Archer beat Cruz and Cartwheel. Anna Jay beat Mariah May in the title eliminator. And Jamie Hayter beat Brooke Havoc. Oh, okay. So that was just their tweet there. Yeah. So not too far off, right? Then they stated that there's a little bit of heat on Jamie Hayter for comments in a recent interview, not over the moon with her booking, or her pretty much indicating she's not over the moon with her booking since she's been back. And I mean, yeah, again, that's nothing too controversial, right? Like, I think we could all agree on that, really. Some people in the company seem very confident Kevin Owens will sign with AEW. Grapevine says the storyline they've got in place to write him off WWE TV could actually play into his AEW debut. And I thought this one was interesting because if you think about what they're doing with Kevin Owens' character on WWE TV, if he were to end up leaving and not resign, then it could potentially, now hear me out, it could play into the Mox angle, right? And maybe Kevin Owens is the one leading things and or obviously not right now, but if that were to end up being the big reveal, could you imagine? Like it would totally, I'm not going to say it would totally make sense, but it would be a much easier pill to swallow. It would make more sense. It would than a Shane McMahon, right? And if you've listened to me before, you know that I kind of wanted to be Shane just because I love to see shit just go up in flames and just watch the IWC just lose their minds, right? And Twitter go up. But I think that it would make more sense because and it would check more boxes, right? Kevin Owens can get in the ring. Kevin Steen, who he would be, I'm sure at that point, could get in the ring, could fight. It would be more believable because Kevin Steen is a loose cannon as well, very similar to Jon Moxley. They have, if you were a fan of Kevin Steen on the Kevin Steen before he joined NXT and WWE, right, and became Kevin Owens, he was the prize fighter. He was, I mean, he wasn't necessarily crazy like Mox, but that was his gig, right? Like he wanted to go out there and beat asses and take names type shit, right? So that would make sense. And Kevin Owens has never, I mean, yes, he does do the swanton, right? But he's not really a flippy guy. He's not known to go out there and really be that flashy type of guy. Hence the whole prize fighter route. So I would like that. I would think that they could really use that to their advantage and they could really tie it in and make more sense. Now, do I think that's really gonna happen? Probably not. I think that Kevin has most likely re-signed with WWE. But if he's, made his money and he wants to dabble in the independent scene and the AEW scene and the fact that Kevin Owens, or I'm sorry, that AEW rather would give Kevin more freedom. So yes, he would be signed to AEW, but like a Ricochet, he could pop up at Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, which we'll talk about here in a second. He can go to Japan. He can do what he wants more freely, right? So now if they're going to be signing him, they're going to be paying him millions, and I doubt that they're going to want Kevin to be doing all this other shit, right? And just doing whatever he wants, and especially if he's going to be involved in that storyline, that he's going to need to be present, right? So that would be down the road type of thing. I would think him going to promotion if that were to even be the thing. But I think it could be fun. Rewind 89, you said you forgot about the prize fighter gimmick that he had. I'm not gonna say he looks like a PE teacher now. I'm not saying that. I like his style. I like Kevin Owens' look. I like that he's never been the stereotypical. Um, I like that he doesn't look like the stereotypical wrestler, and that he can still go out there with the best of them. I like that he looks like when you're walking down the street or in Walmart, you would never think that he's a wrestler, right? Or a top athlete, and look at him, he is. So I like it. And he's always looked that way. Like to me, like he's always had that same appearance and same damn near the same look, same gear, all that shit. So I don't know. I don't agree with you on that one. Oh, what's up, baby? Yeah, man, this was an impromptu live. I actually gave you props at the beginning of the stream, since you were the one who pointed me in this direction and really opened my eyes to all this. I wanted to dig into it, man. I wanted to kind of see what was going on, see how accurate it was, and I figured since I'm intrigued by it, I want to kind of talk about it. And I got accepted for the follow, so it's been pretty cool. I've learned a lot on this AEW moles thread, so I wanted to just kind of share and just talk about it. And again, I'm not looking to out anyone or like share any secret information or anything like that because obviously it ain't me. But again, like I still don't know why the tweets would be protected. But yeah, I'm not looking to out anybody or get anyone in trouble or take advantage of the fact that I got accepted because I don't know what criteria you would need to get accepted. You know what I mean? Because clearly I have no cred, right? So I just think it's very interesting. But yeah, man, yeah, thank you. You did. And I just thought it was very, very eye opening what this the mole has been exposing and not exposing, that's too strong of a word, but just been bringing to light and kind of just speculating on, and what they seem to have reported has been interesting so far. I try not to use that word. I feel like I always use that damn word. But continuing on, small business, everyone knows everyone. Motor City Machine Guns originally were meant to be starting in WWE NXT. You know, hashtag. And Penta and Phoenix on the main roster on SmackDown, but due to injury time added on his AEW contract, plans got switched around. They had merch ready and everything. So yeah, that's just confirming what we had heard about with Ray Phoenix and them being held back due to Phoenix's contract. Now, this one I thought was interesting as well. Tony doing a TV interview, and CVV is none other than, of course, Chris Van Vliet. So that's very interesting. And I think if this ends up being true, I indicator that the mole is who they say they are. And I would just now again, I really enjoy Chris's interviews. Sometimes I wish he would push a little bit harder, but I get why he doesn't, right? That's he's very respectful, very but he's very respectful, but he does ask questions that sometimes you wouldn't think that he would ask or go into topics that you don't think that he would delve into. So I always respected that and appreciated that. And just how like crazy like his channel has grown, right? Like the amount of like subscribers and followers he had, like it's amazing or has, it's amazing. So props to him. But if this does end up being a true thing and Tony Khan is going to do a Chris Van Vliet interview, then I think that would be very interesting. What I want is another Ariel Helwani interview. Fuck, man, like that would be just fantastic. But I don't think we're ever going to get that, Tony and Ariel. But moving on October 19th, a few of the Jacksonville are at the Fulham game. The week of All In, some were annoyed with at the lack of opportunities to promote and thought a Premier League game would have held, but they sent the wrong people. Company-wide message released about politics and wrestling today. They're happy that WWE is getting bad press for the Undertaker Kane Trump TikTok, but don't want anyone in in AEW to reveal if they're Republican, even though I know many have donated. And again, I am not getting into politics here because that is just not something I want to do here on a wrestling wrestling channel and a wrestling show. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave that one alone. Rewinding me when TK refused to answer any of Ariel's questions. Yeah, that one. That interview, yeah. That one. That seemed to have prompted a lot of backlash as well, right? That's what started the whole Ariel, because Ariel was pissed off that Tony didn't really give him any answers and really didn't give him much to go off of. And then Tony got pissed that Ariel was pissed, and then that prompted CM Punk. Or I'm not gonna say that prompted, that's not accurate, but months later we got CM Punk, or maybe a year later, whatever the time frame, we got Punk and Ariel doing an interview, which is still fantastic. I might even put that back on. Just fucking fantastic. I love Punk, and happy belated birthday to my guy. But of course, Punk isn't gonna hold back, and they start now. But I say Punk isn't gonna hold back, right? But he could have, and I'm sure still could, if he wanted to, release a lot of shit, right? A lot of shit. So while he being Punk say a lot on that interview with Helwani. To me, he didn't go out of bounds. And again, I could be biased, right? But you can correct me if you think I'm wrong. But wasn't anything too drastic or anything like, oh my god, like what? In my opinion. But Tony didn't like it, and that's what prompted him to release the footage from the backstage incident at All In with the whole Punk putting Perry in a headlock and Khan fearing for his life. Again, that's what he said, not my words, Tony Khan's words. So yeah, that Helwani interview really started a lot of shit, man. Or again, not started, but escalated a lot of shit is what I'll say. Baby, let me pull this up here. Let's see. Baby, do you think it's really kayfabe of sorts, but acting like a shoot? Hard to imagine TK wouldn't tell everyone something different to expose the mole if this was real. I just don't know. Um, Hard to imagine TK wouldn't tell everyone something different to expose the mold. So do you mean like do you think do I think it's like this AEW mole account is like kayfabe or in like acting like a shoot type thing, or do you think like Tony or like is Tony kind of giving him information or releasing information like one way and knowing it's going to be another? I don't know, man. If that's kind of your question, I don't know, man. That's why I find this so interesting, right? And this could just be just some Joe Schmo just being bored at home and coming up with all this shit. But if so, then that's cool. You know, like I don't that's fun. Like that's what makes wrestling so fun for me, in my opinion, and different than football and basketball and all that stuff. Because while again it if it does end up being true, yeah, like I'm not a fan of someone just deliberately leaking spoilers, and I don't want this AEW mold. For instance, if John Moxley were to lose the title at Full Gear, I don't want to know about that in advance. I don't want that to be released, but I want to learn about the mindset behind things, and that's why I kind of like dove into this, is because I want to try to figure out like like to me as a fan, taking it from a fan's perspective, like okay, like this is the route that they're trying to go with the Moxley thing. Like that's what I'm kind of viewing it as. Like I'm not looking to expose like, oh, this is what they're going to be doing with Mox, even though this is kind of what some of the tweets are. So maybe talking out of my ass, right? But no, like I don't know, and I think that's we're still very early on with it, and I could be blocked after all this. Who knows? But again, that's not my intention. Um, but yeah, rewind. You said yeah, you enjoyed the interview. Yeah, I did too, man. I did too. Okay, baby, you follow up saying, I mean that TK is aware and approving of the mole, and it's something for attention and a possible future story. Just thought, and that's yes. So thank you for that. Yes, that's what I thought that I had as well. I'm not sure if I mentioned it towards the beginning of the stream or not, but that was another reason why I wanted to kind of sit here and kind of dive into some of this, because I think that it's very possible. But the only thing with that is it's still just it's interesting to me that he the I don't know why I keep saying he, but that they have their account protected. You know, like, and again, that could actually, now that I say that, it could actually even tie in more into the whole not I don't the anonymous portion of it. And I'm not even gonna try. But the whole anonymity fact, I guess, maybe if that's how you say it properly, right? Of the possible mole and things like that. It's to add to the speculation and add to the intrigue to it. And again, if people are gonna watch this and make fun of me or whatever, like that's fine, man. Like I don't, you're not gonna hurt my feelings at all, because this is why I fucking love pro wrestling. Like this is why I love shit like this, is because we don't know, and that's what makes it fun. Now again, if this AEW mole account is ever gonna start talking shit like deliberately about like a character or Tony Khan or AEW or anything like that, then no, I'm not gonna entertain it. And then I'm just like, okay, like that's whatever. But it's just kind of blanket information right now, and that's why I find it very, very intriguing. Um, and you agree, yeah, exactly. It's just fun. Yeah. And that's why I just want to stress here too, because I know sometimes a lot of this can be taken out of context. Like that's not my vibe, that's not my intention. I just find it very entertaining and I find it very interesting. And again, if it does end up being true and it goes a negative route, you're not gonna see me entertain it at all. But if it's just blanket information and we can and it helps us and helps us as fans like fuel more speculation and kind of add more layers to the Moxley storyline, the higher power bullshit and all that stuff, and who it's gonna end up being, then that's where I'm kind of coming at with it. Not to get anyone in trouble, out AEW, ruin storylines, anything like that. So that's kind of my vibe and my take of it. So yeah, that's where I'm at. But getting back to the tweets here, on the 19th, they say the plan for the BCC is basically go through all babyface teams with each week it becoming or getting more difficult. I don't want to change their words. Top Flight, Dark Order, the Conglomeration, the Acclaimed of Billy Gunn, the Bang Bang Gang, Private Party, etc. And that is, and again, as me being one of the people that's been talking shit about like why are these people the ones representing AEW with no one else referencing it, you want to go in layers. You don't want to start right at the top because then you have no other chapters, right? You have to build to the end. So I get that, but it's like you at least got to give us someone of a little bit higher stature in the company, card wise and tier wise, if you want to go that route, addressing it. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Then they continue with even talk of possibly beating heel teams to show they're on an island unto themselves. GOA, GOA, GOA. GOA. Oh my god. What does that stand for? GOA. Please help me out with that one if you guys know. Undisputed Kingdom, PAs, which is a Premier Athletes, Learning Tree, House of Black 2, FTR, everyone basically, any tag teams. GOA. My god, who is that? Oh my god, it's just I don't know who GOA is, but again, like that would, and that's what I hope they end up doing, and that's why I'm not completely shitting on this whole story to begin with, because first of all, we have a story and I'm happy with that. There's again, if you've seen my streams in the past, the whole shit with Brian, the back, I despised all that. And I don't like the lack of follow up with that, and even the lack of even mentioning, oh hey, Brian's okay, he's back home, like, or just something, or just I'm not gonna. I try not to go back on my rant from yesterday, but I think they're very much dropping the ball with that. I think we should definitely be getting more follow up, or at least I don't want to hear from Brian, but just something like just something. Just mention like some type of update. You had your leader, the owner of the company, Tony Khan, not attend the media scrum after the pay-per-view because he was tending to Brian's side, right? He was going to the hospital with him, and then now you just have no. It's just very bizarre to me. And again, I'm hoping it plays out in the long run. Um, yeah, I don't. You just got to give us something, and it better not be Tony Khan being the leader of all this shit, because that would just make absolutely no sense at all. And I'm not even gonna go on that tangent because I'm giving them credit, and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that they are not going that route, because if they do, then I will, you guys will hear from me for sure. Is it Gorillas of Agony? I don't think that's right. Because baby, you're trying to help me out. Thank you. Blank of Agony. Because when my first thought was Gorillas of Destiny, which isn't, obviously that's not it, but Gates of Agony, Gates of Agony, Gates of Agony. Oh, rewind. We thought about it at the same time. Oh my god, yeah. I was blending. Yes, thank you. Oh my goodness, thank you, thank you. Ding ding ding. I would give you a star if I could. Gates of Agony. Yes, that's what it is. My goodness. Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts. Thank you both. Thank you, Bebe, and thank you, Rewind89. This is why I need to go live and have a couple people in the chat, because you guys saved me. But moving on, I'm going to continue on the 19th, but the destination is BCC versus the Hurt Syndicate and Swerve Strickland. It'll be after Swerve has feuded with Bobby and MVP. So this was, I'm going to pull this one up here specifically. Can you guys see my mouse moving as well? I think you can. But again, just they had quote tweeted one of their prior ones for the plan for BCC, which was when we were just talking about, and they say that destination is BCC versus the Hurt Syndicate and Swerve Strickland. It'll be after Swerve has feuded with Bobby and MVP. Which I want Swerve to end up with the Hurt Syndicate. I think that would be just a fucking badass team and a badass visual. And I like how they're going so far. I'm not gonna say I think that's where we're gonna end up at, but I'm hopeful that's where we'll end up as, because, or end up at rather. I think that Swerve being the leader of a faction like that, just the visual would just be so tough. So tough. And just think of who you could have, right? Like you could have, of course, like Bobby Lashley when he debuts, which we'll get here in a second. And again, like I like how they're going, and I like that it's not just an automatic Swerve joining them if it does end up Swerve is going to be in the same team with them. I think that Swerve being the leader of a group that includes Prince Nana as well, because Nana will still always be Swerve's right hand man. But what's wrong with having more than one guy in your back pocket, right? Like, what's wrong with having a team? There's nothing wrong with that. When Swerve well, not when he first came on, but Swerve had, what was his group? Oh my god, they had a badass T-shirt. What was it? You guys, man, you have to help me out with that one. But it was the, oh my goodness, it was when he had Parker Boudreaux on there with him. Oh my gosh, what was the name of it? It's something with an M. Ah, it's gonna drive me nuts. You guys can help me out. You guys know, you guys are great. But if you remember Swerve's old faction name, throw it in the chat. But it's Swerve. It's kind of he's Swerve is kind of a weird anomaly in the best way possible. He's that guy that can be a loner and it's very believable. He can go out there and make a case for fighting for himself, not having anyone behind him, not needing anyone behind him, and just really kind of being that excuse me, that shadowy character in the valleys and like that aisle in the alleys and shit, right? And just like that badass dude that you don't want to see in the dark, right? Like you don't want to be walking down the street and look at that guy the wrong way because you don't know what he's gonna do. Kind of like a Moxley, right? But and it actually kind of and very ironic if that's where we end up. Which is kind of why I'm kind of excited by it and like it even more. You can have Swerve being that individual that just gives no fucks and needs no one. But on the flip side, he can also be that guy, the leader of the pack, the leader of this badass faction. And I would love to see that. You can have him still needing, not needing, but still maybe in a way, having his right hand man, Prince Nana, right? We've already solidified that Nana has been his ride or die. Nana does business things for him, purchasing the house, things like that, right? Now, and he addressed it. Yeah, Nana sells weed right in the high school parking lots. Fucking killed me. He still has his he did that and he ended up losing that title, right? So think bad. Not, I'm not gonna say bad things because whatever, but um, Nana is Nana is the guy that it's ride or die for Swerve, and we've established that. So Swerve having Nana in the group makes total sense, but it's a merge, right? And it's not going to be a faction where you can kind of they're together, but you can see like okay, like yeah, they're together, but this is still going to be a say one. No, they're going to merge and blend so well together. But you don't want to kick Nana out, right? And I like that they established that from jump. So once they go through the matches, Swerve versus Shelton, Swerve versus Bobby, if we get to that point before they become a unit, if they end up becoming a unit, I like that. It's kind of like again, kind of like the BCC. We're not going to just accept you. It's blood in, blood out type thing. Not saying that this is going to be a blood feud on the Hurt Syndicate side of things, but kind of the same mentality. You fight to get in, you fight to get out. Fight Club, right? Um, so I like that, but I think that we could end up having just like a very badass group, right? And you have your MVP being the mastermind behind it all, Bobby Lashley being legit your powerhouse, and then Shelton being that technical wizard, and then Swerve just being a nice hybrid and combination of them all, and then Swerve being that crazy motherfucker, like, oh, you don't want to mess with this guy. So I just think it would be amazing. So I hope that's where we end up. Yes, and Mogul affiliates rewind again. Yes, thank you so much. That is exactly what it was. And baby, yeah, that's why I said I'll get to that in a second regarding the debut on Wednesday. Because I'm just kind of going in order. But yeah, we'll definitely be getting to that one here in a second. Oh, 1 second. Let's see. All right, cool. I just wanted to make sure. I have people coming over later, so I just wanted to make sure. But yeah, so continuing on, after the let me fix my phone. After the MJF versus Adam Cole feud, they want to put Adam, Kyle, and Roddy back together. First feuding with the Young Bucks and Okada, and afterwards, the BCC. No talk of bringing Bobby Fish back, as he and Tony Khan didn't click at all. So again, not anything surprising there, but kind of makes sense. Nah, dude, you're totally fine. You're totally fine. No reason to say my bad because I ramble. I fucking talk forever. So nah, dude, you're good. You are good. I'm sorry. I need to mute when I take a sip of the drink. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to be that obnoxious person like swallowing and doing all this nasty shit in the mic. And then this one is interesting. Jimmy Jacobs is working for Maple Leaf. So we'll actually okay, and it's the tweet following up right here. So that I found very interesting, especially what we've seen. I forget when the show was, but that we saw Takeshita on Maple Leaf, and then Ricochet popped up. So this kind of ties into that. They say on the subject of Scott D'Amore, they enjoyed the TNA partnership, but didn't like the aftermath and accusations of using them. Some paranoia TKO let him go, which I'm not sure what TKO. I think it meant Tony Khan. Um, they meant Tony Khan. Let him go. AEW would hire him and he'd be a mole. Ironic, I know. Well, it was no secret he would start a promotion. So Scott D'Amore. Um, and then following up on that, they say also Tony didn't want anyone within the company who the fans would want to be booking instead of him. He doesn't want to lose the creative power, even if the shows get better, because this is his dream. He thought if Scott joins, fans would rally and demand a change. So that actually, and again, adding more credibility to our mole here. If you guys follow Wade Keller over at PW Torch, Wade had reported a few weeks back as well something very similar, that Tony Khan kind of axed the whole EVP takeover thing because he didn't even want the perception on TV, even in a complete, obviously, storyline character point. He didn't want that perception that he wasn't in control of the company. So if that's true, then that's just kind of wild to me. Yeah. Rewind. I know obviously TKO is the company who owns WWE and UFC. Yeah, that's the merge, the business and the company they created. But Scott D'Amore wasn't employed by TKO, so that's why I don't understand why they're saying he says some paranoia TKO would let him go, because he doesn't work for TKO. So that's where I was kind of confused by that. But yeah, definitely no TKO. I own some stocks, so I definitely know TKO. But yeah, so continuing on, and then the mole says, "Oh fuck it, nobody reads these anyway." Which, man, I'm here. We see you. We see you. Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling is partly funded. I'm gonna bring this up. I'm gonna bring this one up. Oh, and Pro Wrestle Times. All right, I don't know who they are, but cool. They're commenting as well. But backtracking, the mole said, "Oh fuck it, nobody reads these anyway. Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling is partly funded by Tony Khan and AEW. It's the same type of deal ECW had with Vince McMahon, all under the table. They'll send there for extra dates, and gets over have anyone gets over have first dibs. So yeah, essentially they get first dibs, whatever." Um, Yeah, you're good, man. You're good. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know Rewind. I don't know. I think they just had like a typo there. Um, and then yeah, so Pro Wrestling. I don't know. I'm not sure who Pro Wrestle Times are. Let's see. Oh, okay, cool. They're another fellow podcast, so shout out to them. Shout out to Pro Wrestle Times. But continuing on, they're like, I'm reading them. Yeah, just like Pro Wrestle Times said, I'm here, man. I'm reading your tweets. AEW Mole, you're not tweeting and out there just in the void. We got you. And then this was interesting. Current plans for AEW Dynamite October 23rd, and this was released on October 20th, so 3 days in advance. Daniel Garcia and Private Party beats the Young Bucks and Jack Perry. Shelton Benjamin beats Sammy Guevara, and Chris Jericho beats Mark Briscoe. And again, nothing to, I would say, like, oh my God, about, like if I had to sit down and think about it, I probably would have predicted, especially Shelton and Sammy. Jericho, you could probably give that one, like, okay, like you could have maybe been a little bit more 50-50 about. But I probably, if I were to sit down and have made actual predictions, I probably would have predicted the same. And then Garcia and Private Party winning just makes total sense because, in my opinion, Bucks are going to beat Private Party because it's even though they said the whole thing they'll break up, it just doesn't make sense for the Bucks to lose to Private Party, unless it's going to be a fluke thing. And if so, then I would despise it even more. I would actually despise it. I wouldn't despise it at first or dislike it at first even. But yeah, I just don't think it would need to be. I don't know. It was just, sorry, I got a little bit distracted there, but I just don't think that you should. I'm not even against like hot shotting title victories or anything like that, but I don't want to see Private Party win just so they can say that they won and avoid being broken up since they created that dumbass stipulation to begin with. That and the one that Cody had did just out of nowhere back when he was still in AEW, where he was like, "Oh, if I don't win the title, I'm never going to challenge for it again." Why? Like, why? Like, just making shit up, just making stipulations up for no reason. Like, why? Like, and again, this was a very similar situation. Like, why are we doing that? Like, there was just no need for that. So that could be a way out. They win the titles, and then the Young Bucks beat them like the following week or 2 weeks later, or back at full gear, which I think would just be a waste in my opinion. Bebe, you say, guess I might need to do Twitter or something so I can find out when you're going live. Oh, and I won't miss some of the show. I'm just not big on social media. YouTube comments, have enough hate in them. Yeah, man, thanks. Yeah, and to be honest, like, and people say that a lot. Like, people say Twitter is a dumpster fire, and there's so much negativity, and even on YouTube, right? That there's so much hate in the comments. I see it, right? But I guess my algorithms love me because I see some like quote negative comments, but I don't get it doesn't I don't see the influx of them. So I think it's just all about maybe who you interact with too. Now Twitter is kind of getting a little bit more heated nowadays, but I just don't see it. And and to be honest, I'm not on social media much at all. I actually suck at social media. There's so many people that I haven't responded to. Not that I'm popular like that, obviously I'm not, but just like I just suck at responding. I'm the type to post shit and then not forget about it, but I post shit like a picture or whatever, and then 2 weeks later I'll go back and all these people have commented and be like, oh, like, are you going to the show or whatever, and be like, oh yeah, I was there. Sorry. So no, dude, like if you do, definitely give me a follow and I'll definitely follow you back just because I would love to interact with you there. But that's mainly, and not even mainly, that's the only reason I have Twitter is for wrestling and sports. um and I follow like a couple of like conspiracy theory shit because I'm just that type of person. But yeah, I don't see the negativity, dude, and yeah, so it's just all about who you interact with for sure. Um and Hezekiah Thomas, hello, Hezekiah. You say, wasn't the stipulation out of desperation because they came so close last time? For private party, yeah, but it's just so drastic. Like, I don't know, like why, for instance, why couldn't it have been a situation like what MJF does? Like, why couldn't it have been like the Young Bucks are like, if like, okay, like you really want us that bad, you have to win X amount of matches, you have to go through a gauntlet, you have to do something. But like, why disband as a team? Like, why would he be so willing to put their partnership in jeopardy, still being so young, and like especially since they've never won the titles? Like, why would you be so willing to give it up? I know you can make a case for if you have all of your money on the table and if you're fighting for literally everything that you have left, like you have a different type of mentality going into it, so maybe that's what they're going with. But to me it was just so just like out of left field, like with Cody. That's why I mentioned it. It's like I feel like we kind of skipped a couple of levels. Like you lost one match, but it was a good competitive match. Like like you were almost there, but it just seemed to me like so extreme in my opinion. So that's kind of where I was coming at with that. But continuing on, House of Black going to win a squash match on AEW Dynamite. Not sure why. Maybe they stand up to the BCC or Elite. That ended up coming true as well. Queen Aminata versus Camille, another match on AEW Dynamite, going back and forth on the result. Right now it's a DQ, but could change. That we did see that as well. Major interest in TNA's Speedball Mike Bailey. AEW management think his style is perfect and he could have some bangers with the likes of Ricochet, Ospreay, etc. They're looking for natural baby faces and he fits the bill. Watch this space. So again, it's a nice, it makes total sense, right? Not one that not one that I just hadn't actually really put thought into of him coming over to AEW, because I think I actually like Bailey in TNA. I like the fact that he gets more space out there, and gets more opportunity to shine, because I'd be kind of concerned that he would just kind of like fall into the fold in AEW. So that would be my concern, but not surprising that they would want him. Ezekiel, you say, I don't know, it feels like it goes back to what Mox says. They've been here 5 years and they ain't won one title yet. And maybe the theory worked best. Yeah, and again, I get that. So yeah, maybe that is. Maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh on it than I should be. But again, maybe to be fair to Private Party, they really haven't had many opportunities, right, in the past 5 years. But again, I know that's storyline wise, like we're not thinking that, right? Like, it's just their characters. Like what Mox said is true, like they ain't done shit for 5 years. So maybe it's a situation where you're like, should I get off the pot, man? Like either win these titles or we don't need to be a team. So maybe that is the thing. And again, like I said, and you, I think you agree there. Maybe the theory is you work best under pressure, which is true. And like they say, diamonds are created under pressure, right? So and ties in perfectly. You get the championship, so that maybe that is it. And again, maybe I'm just being a little bit too hard on it, but to me, it was just like why? And if they do lose, then they end up breaking up. I'm very concerned for them as individuals. Like I don't want them to get lost in the shuffle either. I think they have a lot of potential as a tag team, and I think they're still very young, and that's why I think it kind of bothered me too. Where like I don't want to see them. I guess I just assumed they're gonna lose, right? And that's what I was saying earlier. Maybe they do. It's like a quick hot shot because I don't see them if they do win being the champs for a long time. I could see them losing it very quickly, within like a month or two. So I don't, and that's why I don't want them just to win the titles, just to win the titles, to forego this stipulation. So I think that's just kind of where I'm coming from with it. Because I think again, if they do break up, what are they going to do individually? Like not much, and again, nothing against them because they're fantastic. Like they are so good in the ring, and that's why it bothered me. Like, don't do that, Like I want to see you guys, flourish. Like I want to be on the journey with you guys. Why I started watching AEW when they started, I was literally at the first show, the DC show. I was excited to learn and follow wrestlers who I had never seen before, who I hadn't heard of before, and to watch their journey. That's why I popped when they beat the Young Bucks, right? I was like, oh shit, here, let's fucking go. Like this is great. So yeah, that's where I'm coming from. Like, I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm at with it. But yeah, man, I think that I don't know. And to be fair, like they are creating speculation, right? Like if I had to put money down on it, I don't know if I would go on Private Party winning or Young Bucks winning. So touche on that one on AEW's part. But it's just I don't know. I think it kind of jumped the gun a bit. All right, so the forbidden door clause about people not going to WWE straight after hasn't gone over well. It's because Stephanie Verker, plain and simple, they thought they had her. She went with WWE. Everyone was happy for her. Tony took it personally. Not surprising there. And then they say Will Washington is doing a Game of Thrones type elimination behind the scenes. Jimmy Jacobs was first. Yikes. um, I really don't have much comment on that. I don't know much at all about Will Washington. No disrespect. I just don't know much about him. I know he was hired as like the continue whatever. My brain isn't working today. You would think the coffee would have kicked in by now, but in whatever, but it just hasn't. But he was supposed to be the guy that made sure shit made sense show to show, essentially. And that's all I know. So if he's back there like doing Game of Thrones type eliminations and like killing workers back there, then and axing them, I don't know. And they put a tweet out on this was Samantha Irving, and again, it's to me that's not going to be a surprise if they bring her over, especially with and I'll use that as a segue because I did reference that at the beginning because we are over an hour now at this point. Okay, Bill, I combined y'all. Bebe says Will is the man. He's very smart. And again, cool. I have nothing negative to say. I'm not familiar with him. I think he worked for was it Fightful prior to joining AEW. I'm not sure, and I think I heard somewhere that he's related, maybe to Swerve. I'm not sure, but again, that's basically all I know of the guy. He has a very nice smile, though. I have seen a picture of him. He has a very nice smile. He looks like a very nice guy. He seems very nice. So yeah, that's just all I know of him. So I don't really want to speculate one way or another. Is my thing with the whole Game of Thrones type shit that the mole said. This tweet right here, I'm not going to go through everything. It's just that's a lot to read. Not that I don't like reading, but I don't know. It's just pretty much just like your basic company policy type thing, what you would expect. AEW telling their talent not to say disparaging things against other fellow talent. Pretty much mind your shit and don't be an asshole on Twitter and stuff like that. So that's pretty much what that is. So nothing to I guess like groundbreaking there or anything. And then they say expect Chris Jericho to suddenly start mistreating Big Bill and Brian Keith out of nowhere because he's scheduled to take some time off and wants a rebrand. Wanted to get through the allegations so it didn't seem like he was ousted. Silly booking. And again, I'm not going to get into allegations again as well. That's just not my bag for stuff that's still speculation and no substance. And yet, I'm not going to say no substance, but just no information that we really have one way or another. So I'm not going to, I ain't the one to speculate on that type of shit. But if he is going to be changing from the learning tree, thank you. And if he's taking time off, thank you. That's all I got to say about that. Kyle Fletcher will explain his actions for turning on Will on Dynamite. Always thought he was better. Felt tagging with him was beneath him. Didn't want to work for Don. He's going to show he's better than, and give him the Tiger Driver and end his career, which is pretty much what we got. No mention of the head shaving there, but it's pretty much what we got there. They say Nakamura is on the road again, so that's cool. You better believe someone was at MLW sending feelers out for AEW. Let's just say someone who was in TNA for a while might have been asking a guy who faced a current AEW wrestler at the show if he fancies coming to Jacksonville, and he just might. Well, that was Speedy. So, Speedball Mike Bailey, perhaps. And another one, AEW must have a certain free agent. All right. And then that was just more another tweet that they had put out in regards to the show that was coming up for Dynamite. Fletcher explains House of Black over enhancement talent. Queen Aminata versus Camille. They still had it currently sitting at a 50-50 disqualification decision there. Shelton over Sammy, Jericho over Briscoe, Private Party and Garcia over Bucks, and then the Moxley angle. Pretty accurate. And then they had a tweet here, ask me anything about a normal AEW Dynamite day. Question was, are there any details about Brawlout that haven't gotten out yet? Does MJF have heat with the roster? They say, all the info that came out was very deliberate. I wasn't there, so can't verify firsthand, but there's no reason for me to doubt people. Other than the hilarious insults, not really. Don't think people realize how close the Elite were to leaving. They sent feelers out everywhere. So that's pretty interesting. Another question was, there has been so much back and forth on Ricky Stark's contract expiration. Is that soon, or is he stuck for a while? They say Ricky plays his cards really close to his chest and isn't one of these guys that gossips or feeds into the sheets when it could actually work in his favor. I heard it's similar to Ray Phoenix stuff, but paperwork ain't my wheelhouse. I feel you, bro. Guy is so talented, should be on TV. What are the true feelings about CM Punk among AEW talent and staff? Thank you in advance. The Mole says, sounds like a cop out, but it really is a person-to-person basis. Most never had a problem with him. Some did. The dust has kind of settled, to be honest. It was 3 camps, like, dislike, and don't care. I heard he and John don't talk anymore. I'll do one more question here because he didn't have too many on there. How much say does Jericho and Moxley have over what is on an average Dynamite? So I guess say so. The AEW Mole says Chris has always had a deal since the start. He usually chooses his seg, who he works with, if they agree. 15+ minute build or match, whatever. Been cooling off lately. Latest John story started it all him, now with help from a few others. So okay. Is Tony getting ready to sign Kevin Owens? Yes, massively. Enough to turn his head and enter talks, but it's hard to explain without getting personal, and I know it's not news to anyone, but he wants him. Others do too. So again, yeah, no surprise there. And then they say, I do have one more question if I can ask. Is it true about the NDAs with the wrestlers? The Mole says, if I said, quote, I can't answer that, would it answer your question? If I also said, I could have answered that question in theory until very recently, but now I'm unable to answer even the discussion of it, would you know what I meant? So there's that. And again, I am not trying to get any, I'm just reading shit that are probably fake on Twitter, right? All right. See you later, Rewind. I will tell Big Bear you said, hey, you as well, man. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate you. And then they said, fair enough. It's messed up because they could get rid of anyone and just talk shit about them, and they wouldn't be able to say shit back. And then the mole says, being unable to defend yourself against accusations of being unprofessional due to these types of deals is a really shitty thing to have to put up with. But there's bigger things at play here. Someone wanting to protect the future and hide the present. So interesting information there. Let's see. Elite will lose tonight. Shelton will win. We got that, kind of got that. And then this one was interesting as well. Let's just say Adam Cole isn't the only one with some old friends willing to watch his back. P.S. Yes, I know it doesn't make sense. And the little melting face. So if we get a reunion of Wardlow and MJF, first of all, that would confirm, in my opinion, this account as well, because that would just be fucking out of left field. Like what? And then we have a Megan tweet. I wonder if that is Megan Thee Stallion, because there was some Mercedes comments that she made, but I don't think so, because Megan, one of her songs is the, I think, SmackDown entrance theme. So I'm not sure which Megan they're talking about there. Stitches for Mark. Not sure about that. And then they just confirm, yeah, so he was right about those results. And then he says, I have some of Kyle's hair going in the scrapbook. You never know. So, hey, whatever. Early plans for AEW Dynamite. And this is a spoiler. So just forewarning about that. And again, this isn't official, so it's not really, I don't know. It's just kind of like a theory. But early plans supposedly for AEW Dynamite: Adam Cole over Buddy Matthews, Chris Statlander over Camille, Swerve over Shelton Benjamin, and then this is the confirmation where apparently AEW is going to be debuting Bobby Lashley, and then the Young Bucks versus Private Party. They're going to make a post about that later. And again, this is nothing. If I thought it was like, if I really thought it was a huge spoiler, I would kind of gloss over it and not really, I would kind of avoid it. But this is nothing, again, too groundbreaking or anything like what that is shocking, right? But if it's true, and if Bobby Lashley specifically does debut, that holds a little bit more weight in my opinion. But again, it's nothing that we all haven't been sitting here speculating ourselves already. Like we have Swerve, for goodness sakes, facing off against Shelton Benjamin. Why wouldn't we think that Bobby Lashley is going to debut here? Now, if he doesn't and they hold it off until like Full Gear or something like that, then okay. But I think we are going to see Lashley on Dynamite this coming week. And again, none of the other things are really that surprising. Adam Cole over Buddy Matthews, not really surprising at all. Oh, what's up, Sai? Just doing a run in. Just doing a run in, and after an hour, I'll watch this back. Yeah, man, you know me, I fucking ramble on. So here we are, an hour later. But yeah, I appreciate you popping in, my friend. Thank you. And then just some results on Collision, and then they say one of my biggest fears is this page becomes a proving ground for Tony. I will tell you guys plans. He will see the negative reaction and change things up. Example: MJF and Wardlow. Then Michael is still off TV. So if you want to watch the world burn like me, say, great idea, boss. And Michael is Wardlow, I believe. Pretty certain. And again, like, that's, and I guess their fear is this becoming a proving ground for Tony. But I think, in my opinion, that's what could potentially make it good. You know, if it's not a case of, if this is a true mole, right? And if Tony Khan is not putting this person up to this, like what Bebe and I were speculating on earlier, and this person is just kind of going rogue. My whole point of sitting here talking about this today was I hope it is going to be a good thing. And I hope it is going to generate the feedback and kind of be like a litmus test for Tony, right? If he does see the results and the response that some of these ideas get, then maybe what's so wrong about that? You know, like what's now, if it does end up taking someone off of TV and in that regard, then obviously you don't want that. But if it's a situation where you see that, okay, like I was going to do, for instance, MJF and Adam Cole, but the fans aren't about that, or Adam Cole joining back with Undisputed Kingdom and the fans aren't down for that, what's the harm in changing it? That's what you want. For instance, like with Cody Rhodes in WWE, when the Rock was going to be taking Cody's spot, right? And Cody gave his spot at WrestleMania to the Rock to face Roman. People were shitting on it. They went to Twitter and the hashtag "We Want Cody" trended for what, that whole weekend. WWE saw that, they changed routes, and Cody's been the champ ever since. So I don't see this as a negative thing, and that's where I'm coming at. Um, keep on rambling. Yeah, I don't know, man. Don't encourage me. And then the AEW Mole says, "Rest in peace, my inbox. I appreciate everyone who reached out. You guys seem really cool, but I'm already risking a lot by leaking silly stuff. I know you're not sheets, and some are not doing it for yourself, I think, but honestly, just can't risk it. Stooges for the sheets." And again, I'm not a she, and I'm not gonna keep saying the same thing, but I'm not doing it for any ill intention or anything like that. Um, yeah, as far as he says, as far as Chris Jericho goes, it's never him. By the way, it's no secret he's Dave's guy, Meltzer. But the reason why he always has a group or a sidekick is so he can distance himself. That goes all the way back to Ralphus, which I think his name was Rufus. Was it Ralphus? It was Ralphus. And WCW Rufus is the naked mole rat. Even tried Kevin Owens from Kim Possible. If you know, you know. AEW always has one in his stable is his go between, like Bullet Club for the Young Bucks. Yeah, I saw you say don't hate me, but my first reaction don't hate me, but my first reaction to a mole is I hope it's not an angle. I'm done with these meta storylines. Yeah, man, we talked about that a lot at the beginning of the show. But again, that's kind of what is fun for me with the speculation. So that's why we're kind of going through it all just to see what the fuck all this is, you know, and to kind of just have fun with it. Like just having fun with this. Gonna continue on here and wrap it up here soon. As far as Private Party and the Young Bucks go for Fright Night, many felt they should have beat the Young Bucks. It's a similar situation to the Acclaim versus Swerve in Our Glory. They lost, and it was the perfect moment, so repeat with the right result. Sometimes I will walk around the arena before the show with my hoodie up just to gauge the audience. So many want a party to win, but plans have been penciled in forever for Bucks versus Golden Lovers, so I'm a little confused, and I work there. It's not unusual for there to be plans, and come Wednesday, everything changes, though, with the dreaded rundown sheet and doodles by Tony. So if we're just kind of basing off of that indication, it appears that, you know, Private Party could be winning, and it could, like he said, be a make good, but I don't know. Again, I'm just so conflicted on that. So we'll see. um, and I just, again, I fucking love this guy. And this is them referencing that them going private. They say, so I've taken your advice and gone private, but still want people to hear a little of what's going on. I guess that'll happen the more I share and build trust. If I ever go dark like Arnold, I will be back, or likely flying, traveling, though they're already on to me. I provided you a lockbox option. I appreciate the offer, friend. I'm still finding my feet on here for now. I'm not sure what that is, but yeah. Continuing on. And they say, can you guess who's going to be the heroes and save AEW from Jon Moxley's gang of degenerates? You thought Max and Adam's storyline didn't make sense. Just wait for this one. And then someone responded, the Hurt Business, LOL. And they said, penciled in plans is Swerve to feud with Hurt Syndicate, but afterwards a handshake and alliance form respect, and they will face BCC, but they're not the ones I was talking about. And then they say, how heavy will they lean into? Okay, the race factor for kind of just the Hurt Syndicate part. Then they talk about Samantha. Looks like Private Party are about to become the most valuable players, and I think that's very interesting, because they did get a business card from MVP, so very interesting. Again, guys, there's a lot of credibility, a lot of potential for this. Oh gosh, my feed went back down. Yeah, and I'm not sure what they said. Whoever stooge, just someone mentioned in a post, this is all I can have nice things. I'm not sure. And this line was interesting. So this is your house, huh? Well, you just got new neighbors. And I think that's a very, very good line. Very good line. I'm not going to go over more kind of spoilers there, result to match wise. But yeah, that's kind of basic. The idea behind Fletcher shaving his head was to turn him into Don Callis Jr., essentially, which makes sense. And again, nothing too groundbreaking there, but again, makes sense. Adam Cole handpicked Buddy Matthews for his first match back from injury, by the way. He's considered very reliable, easy to work with, will play into the Undisputed Era reunion as they need a trios rivalry. So that makes sense. Um, and I don't know if this is like a play on for Jennifer Pepperman, I believe her name is, but the mole says how I like my promos, and it says no pepper, please. And then on the little pepper shaker it says if someone's been poisoned, who did it? I don't. Again, that's just me speculating. And then they're like, then this one is who snitched. And it's a screenshot of Ring of Honor. Watch Ring of Honor TV every Thursday night exclusively on Honor Clubs. I don't really know what that one means either. Yeah. So exactly. Thank you, man. Thank you. I knew I liked you, my friend. And then this cap is very interesting. You know, just a throwback of the ECW baseball cap. And then they say expect a match announced and canceled, and you can guess why. And then they say, someone I hugely respect in the business told me, don't get wet before it rains. So don't worry, guys. I'm fine. I appreciate all the kind words. Just watch and you'll see and be able to make up your own minds. It's healthy to be skeptical. Okay. And just kind of moving forward a little bit here. Again, he's just asking us not to guess who he is. And I don't want to guess who he is. I'm not into that, like I said. And then they say Bandito could be kind of filling in as a replacement for Hologram, who is injured, versus the Beast Mortos. Clear the way and all above. And then we have some future matches here. Anna Jay versus Ty Valkyrie. Jay versus Deonna Purrazzo. She will then join them to be a part of their faction. Hook versus Kip Sabian. Hook versus Nick Wayne. Him versus Christian. Lance Archer and Brian Cage versus FTR. And Hangman Page versus Juice Robinson. So again, nothing too out of the field there. Just a picture of Dave, Shad, and Tony. And then WrestleMax. This one was interesting because we did get a confirmation of this as well. WrestleMax, AEW filed for I think rights for that term. They say, I don't know this for sure, but was told by someone that I do trust that the international markets that air AEW pay buttons, ITV and jolly old England, think of a reasonable price, then half it again. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe you guys will in the chat. What's up, Jesse? What's up, my friend? Yeah, man. Thank you. It was a random impromptu. You say, do you think Undisputed Kingdom going to turn on Adam Cole and side with MJF? I mean, yeah, that version of him. Yeah, it was just I hated that. I hated that, man. That segment so much. I think it just made Adam Cole look dumb. Like, and we're all predicting it, right? Oh, great timing, right? Ironically enough. I just couldn't stand it. I thought that last or the week prior we go from Adam Cole, and I liked the way he just neatly and short and sweet wrapped it up. Went out there and said, "Hey, like to the Undisputed Kingdom, hey guys, I got to do this on my own or whatever." Cool. That's all we needed. Now he can't even get it out his line. Who's ready for story time with Adam Cole, baby? And we hear Adam, Roddy yelling at him. They're out there pretty much just having like a good old kumbaya. I missed you, Adam. Like we had your back since day one. This was part of the plan. Da da da. Adam Cole literally says, "That's a great idea, Roddy." What? What? No. No, it's not. It's not a great idea. Like, what are you doing? The whole positioning when MJF's video came on the big screen with the three guys standing behind Adam. It's just a turn waiting to happen, which is just, I'm not gonna say it's dumb, but it's just like eye rolling. Like, why? Why? We don't have to do things just to say we're doing them, just to have a swerve. Like, we're not. And then having Kyle O'Reilly in the back watching the segment, I think that made sense because to me, I'm sitting there thinking like, does Kyle not exist anymore? Yes, Bobby Fish is in AEW, but like, damn, like what happened to Kyle? So yeah, even if it ends O'Reilly and Roddy together, I just don't want Adam Cole with anyone, to be honest with you. Like I'm just kind of over it. I want Adam Cole to be his own man, and I thought the short and sweet of it the week prior was perfect. But apparently not. So I'm just not here for it, man. I'm not here for it, and I think they are going to end up turning on him. And I don't know if they're going to necessarily side with MJF and create like a new faction, but they're definitely going to help MJF out. I think, which is just, and I don't want to see MJF running a faction. I don't want to see the Undisputed Kingdom with like like the three guys with MJF. Like I don't want to see any of it. I just want Cole to be on his own. I want MJF to be on his own and just do your own thing. And I'm not here for it. Not here for it at all. And I thought the segment was just terrible. Just terrible. And then this was the cable that they had predicted. I think it was the Outrunners choke. Yeah. So it was right here. I don't like doing results because every week I go into collision knowing already it's obvious. Da da da. And he was like, Roosh chokes FTR with camera cable and the Outrunners for the save. And that was the cable that they posted there. And this is interesting. This was one that kind of stood out to me too. Jericho is going to start doing this please retire open challenge thing to garner interest in his matches. Basically, it's like the Ric Flair thing. If he loses, he says he's done. And he's not going to lose. So that could be interesting because Jericho, like, he's continuing to play off of, people chanting the please retire. Although they haven't done it as much recently, I don't think. So yeah, but it wouldn't surprise me. And then just talking about Samantha Irving a little bit more. And then this one, I had to like this one. The good old heel turn for FTR. If that ends up coming true, that's going to be interesting as well. I just thought the picture cracked me up. But I think we're going to be wrapping it up here soon. Let's see. He did mention, again, he mentioned they don't have proper production meetings. And things changed last minute, which is part of the frustration. But again, I'm not here trying to spread negativity or anything like that, so I'm not really gonna comment on that part. But if it's true, like that's unfortunate. You need to have production meetings. I hate meetings, but you need them, if they're productive, not just the shit that could be an email. And then they say Jon Moxley's mystery mentor has a few similarities with his old one. So we'll end it on this one. Pull this back up here. Because this one, and when I saw this tweet, I was like, oh my God, it can make so much fucking sense. If you think about it, they say Jon Moxley's mystery mentor has a few similarities with his old one, and a lot of people just went with the whole UK thing, right? But it could make sense. Who hates Bryan Danielson the most in the AEW world? Nigel McGuinness, who has made it abundantly clear for the past year plus on commentary. Nigel McGuinness, who randomly got a shot against Bryan Danielson at Grand Slam. Nigel McGuinness, who lost, who did not capture the title. You're right, it's Nigel. Who now is the champion, right? Who is the champion leading the way, saying we had to take Danielson out. Danielson had to go. Moxley didn't want to do it. Moxley did not want to do it, apparently, to Bryan. He did not want to be the one to take him out, but it was out of his hands. He was being forced to do it. Who else? Nigel McGuinness. Who else hates Bryan that much to want to potentially, I'm not going to say end his life because that's just absurd, but to take him out, to make him unconscious? Our guy Nigel. I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was an interview that Wheeler Yuta did, a sit-down interview with Nigel, none other than our guy Nigel. All of a sudden, Nigel has compassion for Bryan Danielson. He says, he sits down Wheeler Yuta and is like, pretty much, why did you guys do that? Why did you go to that extreme? And Yuta, I think the first line that Yuta says is, he compares it to Batman, and he's just like, are you upset that we took out Joker, or we took out Batman before Joker had a chance to? Something to that effect. Very interesting. Very interesting. And why, of all people, is Nigel sitting down talking to Wheeler? Like you have Renee. Well, I guess we know why they wouldn't do Renee, so we'll take that one out. You could have had Excalibur. You could have had Shivani. Tony Schiavone was the one that Moxley approached, or Schiavone was the one that was in the ring trying to get an interview with Moxley, and Moxley was the one who told Schiavone, "This isn't your company anymore," relaying that to Tony Khan. So you could have had Schiavone in that spot, but you had Nigel. So that's very, very interesting to me. That stood out a lot. And shout out to that person who threw Nigel out there, because when I saw that name, a lot of things started to click. Is it going to be as satisfying? Possibly not, but it would make sense. Do we view Nigel as that cutthroat type of guy right now? No, but we could. We could. So I'm just gonna leave that there. I'm just gonna leave that on the board, and not in a negative sense. But I think that is a very interesting possibility, in my opinion. I don't know, just something about that Nigel name, tying it all together. It it could have layers. It could call back, and it would make sense, right? Their original leader was William Regal. I don't know, man. I don't know. It just makes a lot of sense. It could make a lot of sense. But with that, guys, I am going to wrap up here. It has been a much longer show than I anticipated, and that's because you guys are interacting with me and you guys joined in, and I appreciate that. Again, if the mole ever sees this and they are upset by it, that was not my intention. I apologize in advance. You've heard a few times my intentions and my thought process behind it. I think that this could be good, and this is a good thing for AEW going forward. If this is it, and even if it's not, even if all this is bullshit, I think it's fun. And I think it's fun for us as fans to sit here and speculate on it. And that was my whole intention on doing this, was just to add more fuel to the fire for storyline purposes and for what we see on TV. Not to expose anyone, not to out anyone, not to do any of that shit. So yeah, that's my thoughts behind it. Again, with much longer than I anticipated. So I thank you guys for popping in, popping out, hanging around with me, liking the channel and subscribing to the channel if you did, liking the video, all that good stuff. Or just if you don't like it, you can let me know that too. I appreciate all the feedback and just the interaction. I am gonna go though. I do have some stuff I have to do when I watch some football. I have to clean, eat, all that good stuff. But until next time, guys, as always, stay safe out there. Be nice to people. It doesn't cost anything. And enjoy wrestling. Most importantly, enjoy wrestling. That's why we're all here. That's why we all watch channels like this, and why I sit down and bullshit about wrestling is because I love it. Not for anything negative. It's not my vibe. But I think that this could be a lot of fun, and that's why I wanted to sit down and talk about it. So thank you guys. Like I was saying, feel free to follow me on Twitter at @kickashpodcast_. You can follow me personally at ASHMANNS. But until next time, guys, thank you so much. And like I said, enjoy some wrestling. Stay safe.